I've been an electric truck owner now for over 6 months. I own a Rivian R1T. And today I want to talk about, after those 6 months, am I still in the honeymoon phase of my ownership and on my relationship with my EV truck? Or am I in the divorce stage? Is there things so annoying that I just can't get over them? I did a previous review of owning my Rivian R1T and really kind of EV truck in general at 1,500 miles. So if you want to check that out, I certainly have that video. I'll leave a link down below, and it talks about at 1,500 miles. And now today we're talking about a 6-month ownership. So EV truck in a 6-month time frame. So let's start with the honeymoon stuff. Let's start with the cute, the flirty, the fun. Let's get all that out of the way before we talk about some things that could potentially drive you to divorce. So the first thing in the honeymoon phase is looks. So it's maybe one of the reasons you may fall in love with a person, right? Because you see them and you're like, love at first sight, right? Well, this truck to me was love at first sight as well. So it drove me right towards wanting to buy it. The first YouTube video I ever watched on the Rivian. But electric trucks, in general, I love the concept, I love the speed and all those things. But the look for me is what sold me on owning an EV truck. It's futuristic, yet simplistic. It's not over the top unless you're going for a Cybertruck, of course. I love the black and white contrast. I've never had black wheels. Obviously, that's accessorized or is aesthetic, but the headlights on this thing set it apart. Every time, many times, and not every time, I drive by somebody going down the road, they do this. Right, you get tons of head turns, tons of people stop me in parking lots and ask me, what is this thing? I love the look, I love its ruggedness, but simplicity. I love the simplicity of the inside, but elegant. Everything about the look keeps me in the honeymoon phase. So let's move on to number two. Number two for me is the updating. So EV ownership, one of the main reasons it's so amazing and it keeps you in that love and holds you tight into the honeymoon phase is the surprises, right? It doesn't get old. The updates, normal car buying, right? Outside of EVs, you search the internet, you're looking for the perfect car, the color, the wheels, the accessories, everything inside. You usually end up with 90%, or if you say I want 100%, you have to go ahead and order one. Well, with electric vehicles, it's way different. You get a vehicle that's what you want, and then they keep giving you new perks. For instance, kneel mode. So it's not as hard to get out of the vehicle when it's in a standard or high suspension. Halloween mode, they brought in for the holiday. Pet mode. Camp mode, just the ability to alter the vehicle's accessories over Wi-Fi like it's a computer update is insane. It's one of the main reasons EVs keep me in love with them. This truck I love more and more because of the surprises it brings to me. It's kind of like a relationship in that way. Like everybody loves surprises, right? Well, EVs do the same thing in the relationship to the owner. They keep bringing new updates out to make the vehicle better and better. The third and final point in the honeymoon phase for me about owning an electric vehicle, and especially an electric truck, is the drive. So I've had multiple trucks before this. I've had F-150s, I had a Jeep Gladiator, and trucks drive like trucks, right? That's what you get. You're going to get what you expect. And with trucks, it's going to be a little bit more rugged. Obviously, the newer vehicles, they're getting better and better. The Sierra Denalis and things like that, they ride really nice. An electric vehicle is beyond that. It is like driving a high-end sedan sports car in a truck body. It does the things a truck can do, but it drives way better than a truck I've ever been in. The acceleration, the power, the pull, the torque, I mean, you name it, EVs in the sense of performance, they have everything. And that thrill and that excitement 100% keeps you in honeymoon mode. I mean, it's so fun to drive. I don't mind driving in general. I've always been fine with driving, but driving an EV is like, it's like you're in a spaceship, and I love it. And I love it more and more every time I get into it. So those are the three things inside the honeymoon phase that keeps me in the honeymoon phase. It is the look, the constant updates and surprises, and the drive is just incredible. Love the EV for that. Let's get into what drives me crazy. Okay, so number one for annoyances driving me to divorce is kind of a big one, the charging network. Now, for me, it's not a massive issue because my normal commute doesn't really, I don't have to go to charging networks outside of my house. I usually stay within a 330-mile radius. Within, a couple of days, I don't charge every day at my house either. So charging network maturity for me hasn't been a huge hindrance on my day-to-day, but it has stopped me from making certain trips that are longer. Because when you lay your plan out and you realize that you get to certain rural areas of the United States and the charging network just isn't mature enough there, waiting 2 hours at a charge station, I'm not really there yet. I don't really want to do that. The superchargers and the charging network that deals with it and you're within and out in 25 minutes, 30 minutes, that's totally cool with me. That's about how long it takes me to fill up my tank, get a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever that looks like, that's pretty typical and I'm okay with that. But 2 hours to wait for a charge, I'm kind of not okay to add 2 extra hours to my trip. I would do it if I had to, but right now that immaturity with the charging network, I have since bought a adapter for my specific Rivian that allows me to charge at Tesla stations, which is great because obviously Tesla network is the most mature at this point in time. Now, I think as this evolves, and it's not going to be that long, as EVs become more popular, the networks are going to have to expand pretty quickly. I don't think this is going to be a problem forever, and I just hope that they'll be able to keep up with the demand because obviously the EV market is getting more and more robust, and people are liking them more and more, and they're becoming more popular. So my first divorce point is the charging network just has a lot of immaturity and a lot of growth to go, which is fine. It's new. I knew that. I can't complain that much because I do a lot of home charging, so it hasn't been a major issue for me yet, but I have not made certain trips because of it. My second divorce point is really my truck specifically. It's not so much EVs in general, but I have heard this, and this is kind of just new startups. Unless you're buying an EV from maybe a Ford or a GMC or an established brand. Rivian and Teslas, and Lucid, they're very new, they're very startup. They're still trying to work the kinks out. So I've had minor service issues with my vehicle that are kind of annoying. For instance, like both my driver's side and my driver's side rear door were out of alignment, which means like they were skewed slightly like this, where the top was out a little bit and the bottom was pushed in a little bit. So it was just like a realignment. They just had to come back out to my house and kind of realigned it and adjust it. Wasn't a huge ordeal. It's just that kind of thing normally doesn't happen, with an established brand, at least from what I've heard. I've never had door alignment issues in the past with all my other vehicles I've had, which I've had Hondas, Fords, Jeeps. I've had all kinds of vehicles, Nissans, and never had door alignment issues. So those minor things with the startups and the newer companies trying to figure out their production and line in their quality assurance to make sure everything going out is going to be as tight as possible. When I did get my PPF on my vehicle, my ceramic coating, the company actually told me early on Tesla's had a lot of issues with door alignments as well. So when they were putting the film or putting ceramic coating on the vehicles, they would notice that the doors and things wouldn't line up when they were closed. That was a pretty big issue. So Tesla had the same thing and they've worked through those quality issues. I think Rivian and, and some of the other startup companies are going to be able to work that out, but realize that early EVs or companies that are starting EVs, they got to work those kinks out. So those minor kind of annoyances and things that I've never run into before, it's a bit annoying, and it can nag at me enough to, is this really worth it? What else is going to come? Is this a lemon? Those types of thoughts come into my head. So closing all this up, honeymoon, divorce, where am I at this point in time? So after 6 months, I am still very much in the honeymoon stage, and I see a long-standing, great, cute, flirty relationship with my EV truck. And the reason that is because it's so fun to drive. And the updating and getting feedback to the company and the company responding and sending updates out to the vehicle based on the group's feedback, that's incredible. You don't get that all the time with everything, and EVs allow you to have those updates and that feedback and make the vehicles better over time, which is why I think as more and more time goes on, I think the relationship's only going to get stronger. So I'm still very much in the honeymoon stage. When people ask me, do you still love it? Are you glad you bought an electric vehicle? Every single time I tell them, this is the greatest thing I've ever bought. So hopefully that's helpful for you if you're in between what you want to do there, and I will catch you on the next video.